I'm going to drop the level of abstraction here, tell you a little story. It'll give you a reason why I'm dropping the level of abstraction. I was a professor at the University of California Extension and working in breast cancer research at the Northern California Cancer Center. They wanted a program officer at the Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program who was a behavioral scientist. I'm a behavioral scientist. I got my doctorate in that. They said there's one condition after we did a series of interviews is that you'd have to be the neuroscience program officer also. I said, no problem. Of course, I knew nothing of neuroscience. Having said that, why I'm here today is I was Athina Markou's program officer from day one, her first grant in 1998 with the Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program. Her last grant that she got in 2006 that went on to 2009, I spoke to some people. I wonder why Athina hadn't come in 2010 and she was pretty regular. She would come in every 2 or 3 years and she would get a grant every 2 or 3 years. I've heard the presentations today. It's actually quite remarkable. Frankly, I have to tell you that I'm honored to speak here today. As some of you are, I'm a retired retiree. I'm a rehired retiree at the university. I work a few days a week at the Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program. I oversee Janet Napolitano's new program on nicotine fellowships. Actually, there's one fellow here in San Diego. Every 3 or 4 years, I would have contact with Athina, in-depth discussions about how she should come in, what should the titles be, and each time her title was Neurobiological Subtraits of Nicotine Addiction. That was always the title. 4 grants in a row, every 3 years, and they all got funded. I was like, who is this lady? I can't imagine. I was down for 2007 neuroscience when it was here in San Diego. Had a chance to meet with Athina and some other folks. The bottom line of her work, at least from my understanding, centered around identifying the key neurologic receptors in the brain that promoted reward and dependency. You've heard a lot of that science here today. And what I think has happened, and I want to try and draw this as sharply as I can, in 2005 and 2006, 2007, right when she's making the transition from Scripps to UCSD, our funding at TRDRP was getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And we wanted folks to focus more and more on treatment. So this is all hip and fine about receptors, this, that, and the other, but what can you do to bring people out of the dependent state? And Athina understood it immediately. In fact, she explained some of this to me, what you guys are talking about here today. Let me just say that the Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program funds from soup to nuts: basic science, cancer research, pulmonary and cardiovascular research as it relates to smoking and nicotine, neuroscience, epidemiology, community interventions, health disparities, policy. For a long time, I was the social behavioral policy and neuroscience program officer. Talk about cutting funds and packing it all into one person. Even though Tuesday there wasn't great news for most of us, I said it. It was kind of like we won the battle and lost the war. Prop 56 did pass here in California. There will be more money going to tobacco-related disease research. There will be more money then going to that. In the course of us losing money in the latter part of the 2000s, there was a fight in our office. Should we get rid of neuroscience research? And clearly, from my vantage point, the answer was no. I had then at that point been there 12 years. I actually understood neuroscience. I actually attended conferences. I met many of the people here. What we did then is fight to say, well, if you're going to do neuroscience research, it had to be in relation to some type of treatment, and Athina understood that quite well. Let me reassert that with the passage of Prop 56, the Tobacco-Related Disease Research Program will not only continue its focus on neuroscience, it will actually strengthen its focus on neuroscience. We are actually in the process of looking to hire somebody to be the neuroscience program officer. Any of you interested, let me know. You know how to find me. Let me just say, though, I want to propose to you, and I've been going around the country talking about this, and there's a confluence going on, or what we're calling the triangulum. This is the interrelationship and the intersection of tobacco, marijuana, and electronic cigarettes. And this intersection is profound in terms of what is being rewarded, what dependence is like, and indeed what even the exposure is like. What is secondhand smoke like? What is thirdhand aerosol like? There are brand new research questions out there, and they all will affect the neuroscience field. I want to encourage you all to get involved in this. Be appraised that next year it will come out of the blue with the heat not burn products being produced by Philip Morris International, where they heat nicotine to a point. Don't peroxylize it, don't burn it, but heat it. And you heat propylene glycol laced nicotine to actually give off a vapor. So what's the behavior then associated with that? What's the neuroscience that is involved in that? This field will not go away. I want to encourage you to keep that in mind. Having said that, I want to give my heartfelt condolences to the family, to her friends, to her colleagues, to her loved ones. Athina was a great person. She taught me a lot. Give you a sense of how much she taught me. The reason I'm down here is because of her. Since I'm part-time at TRDRP, they don't fund for things like this. When I heard about this, I said I wouldn't pass up this opportunity. Athina was a great person. She was an excellent scientist. And frankly, the pleasure was all mine. Thank you very much.